Hi, this is Andy Lipton, and welcome to Leading the Break. My guest today is Meg Barber, the head coach of the women's basketball team at New York University, NYU. Meg has had tremendous success as head coach at NYU. Her team has won 150 games against only 21 losses. Her team has won the NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship the last 2 seasons, and the team is currently riding a 62-game winning streak. In this interview that I had with Meg, you will hear a preview of this year's team, some of the changes Meg might implement. You'll hear about the 62-game winning streak, as well as the impact on the program, on Meg, and her players of winning 2 national championships. Meg also talks about the keys for her to have a winning program. You will hear and see a person who is very level-headed about success and puts it in a very impressive perspective. Give us a preview of this year's team.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of new faces, and a lot of new roles. I think, on paper we've lost a bit of a scoring and defensive punch, but Caroline Pepper comes back and is a tremendous, two-way player for us. Brooke Batchelor is a returning starter. And then, we're filling with returners and some new faces that are fresh to the scene at NYU.
Any differences in the way you're going to play the game? Any difference in style? Any?
Yeah, I think we're actually going to play a little bit faster, which is kind of surprising because we were one of the fastest teams in the country last year. But we added a lot more depth with our athleticism, and I think our bench play will be very dynamic to kind of complement what we're doing with the starters.
I noticed it looks like you in practice a lot of use of kind of like a post player, which a lot of basketball seems to be getting away from the post player. Talk about that.
Yeah, we use ours, primarily as a rim runner. We really want to try to get that initial defender to be stuck down low and kind of open up the perimeter game for us, and then we'll vacate them. But just looking to be the first man down the floor and potentially hit a trail or just get into easier actions off of that.
Are you guys a big proponent of the 3-point shot?
Love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like Is it Pepper?
Yeah, Pep.
She looks like she's a really good outside.
Yeah, she's phenomenal, and Isla, one of our incoming freshmen, also shoots the ball really well. Livy Legao. So we have a lot of depth at that position, which is really helpful.
So let's talk about the 62-game winning streak.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course 2 championships back to back, the winning streak. That's rarefied air. That really is, Meg. I mean, there's a lot of successful coaches in this business, but this is really, really up there. Let's talk about the streak. Is that on your mind? Are the kids thinking about it?
We don't. I mean, this year we're such a different team that I think in many ways it's felt like a reset, and it kind of just feels like we're just trying to figure this team out and how we can help, create chemistry quicker and how we can really just put the pieces together for our strengths. So I think that's really, top of mind is how we can best facilitate this team. Obviously, the difference for this team a little bit is the burden of that streak because everybody wants to talk about it, and also everybody wants to talk about a potential three-peat. But the thing that got us to 60 whatever wins it is every day coming in and having a standard and sticking to our process and just approaching every day, a little bit machine-like. So that's my goal for this group, is to approach every day and just try to incrementally get better. And that's why we're in the position we are right now, But it's very interesting because everybody talks about it, but as a coach, I've lost a lot in my career, So it's not something that seems like it should happen. So in a way, because we're so used to losing and winning in this profession, I approach every game really the same way, and my expectations are the same, heading into each game.
So, okay, let's talk about the 2 championships. I mean, even before the championships, your teams have done very, very well.
Yeah.
I mean, your record is really unbelievable. It's more than successful, really. How have the championships, though, affected you, affected your players, affected the program? What impact, if any, has it had on you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's come at a great time in women's basketball to be riding these championships, and the Liberty won, right after we won it, and so it's kind of felt like a storybook, ending in a way the last 2 seasons, to just sort of, be making history here. Obviously, it's my alma mater, so I have a special love for this place and just a lot of pride in how those teams represented us, which has been, really fun to kind of stand on the sidelines. I felt like last year I was more of a fan than a coach at times because the team was just really on autopilot. And this year, I think what it's helped us do is just recruit talented players that are now, stacking NYU against a lot of top programs, whether it's Division III, whether it's Division I, and looking at this kind of as a one-of-one. Like, this is something really different, and you have an opportunity to compete for national championships here. And that's something that we've talked about recruiting, 5-6 years ago before we had ever done it. And now we have players that are kind of, coming in knowing, what's at stake and knowing what they can be a part of, which has really elevated things for us.
Do you think it changes you as a person at all? Do you think about life differently?
I think, in some ways I never thought I would win one, so I always would watch on TV the teams that won, or watch coaches cutting down nets, being on the other side of that, and think, oh man, I would love to be there one day. So in that way, I think it's been fulfilling as a coach to be able to climb that last ladder and, cut down that last net. It still gives me chills thinking about, just I'm very grateful. The players that I've had the privilege to coach, put me in that position. So I think it's a little bit more gratitude towards, what it takes to actually put a championship season together and some of the luck that goes into it. And, being able to represent NYU like this just makes me a really, really proud alum.
That's nice. By the way, I remember the old days. Seriously.
Yeah.
Barry Kramer, Mal
yeah.
Graham,
Yeah.
Stan McKenzie.
Yeah.
The men's program was storied, back in the 60s.
Yeah, Barry Kramer called my house when I was getting recruited here, because I'm from upstate New York. So when he called, my dad was like, "Okay, you can go to NYU."
That's really nice.
Yeah.
No, I remember. I was young, but I remember those days.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: do you think it's changed you how you go about your life? Do you think you go about things differently because you've won championships?
I think knowing how much I relied on my family for those runs, and just even seeing like my sisters and my mom in the stands, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm more grateful because I've won it and kind of checked that box, and it just is sort of this, it takes a village mentality. Like I absolutely know that I wouldn't do this by myself. And so I think in that way, I just feel very blessed and lucky, really. And I think it's helped in a way. Like, you wake up the next day and it's kind of like, okay, you might get reporters' phone calls and things like that, but your life goes on the same way that it did, the week prior. And picking up my 8-year-old from school and making sure we have the right groceries in the house. I mean, your life goes on in the same way, and certainly you can look back on that really, really fondly. But that perspective, I think, of knowing the other side of a championship is really not that much different from not having a championship. I think kind of keeps a level-headed perspective about the whole, pursuit.
How about the kids on the team? What do you think it meant to them, and what will it mean going forward for them?
Well, I always, tell people that if I could pinpoint a time that really sent the trajectory of this team towards a championship, it would have been the year prior, that we lost in the Elite Eight on the road. And that team just had this, like, never die mentality the next year. They put a lot of work in the offseason. They just grinded. They saw greatness, and they lost to greatness. And I think that really kind of put on their minds, okay, this is what it takes. So, the irony of a loss really sending our program towards a championship. And the thing that I feel really lucky about is I coach 4-year players here. So those players that got to experience that, I still got to coach when they came back the next year, and had most of them, through both championships. And that was really what propelled us. So I think for them, being able to come back from those losses and get that final win was just a cherry on top of an amazing career.
Do you think it's something they'll think about a lot? Do you think, okay, now we go on with our lives, we have jobs, we have careers?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's something that they kind of live with?
I think it's both. we have insanely, driven, motivated, smart, strong women in this program. And so it wouldn't surprise me if one of them is curing cancer and one of them is, running to be a politician and a Supreme Court justice. I mean, they are really, really multifaceted and really talented. So I hope that this is a really big part of their experience here, but I also hope that, the rest of their life is even better than what this was, but that they can take this and kind of use it as, what it is. I mean, they experience greatness and they know what it took to get there and how that translates to their family life and their careers after this, I think should be mutually beneficial.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, you've been coaching for a while, you were an
Yeah.
assistant,
Yeah.
you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
What do you think, for you, the keys are to making a very good team?
I think you have to start with your recruiting process with people first. And I think a lot of people, look at the sport they're coaching and try to find the absolute best player. And the intangibles are, typically what end up winning in the end. The players that just will outwork people, are selfless, have really high character, are able to take care of their academics so things aren't lingering and kind of out of place while they're trying to also, pursue greatness on the court. So, we really focus here on people first, and obviously we want really great basketball players, but the most important thing is we go to that circle every day with people we love to be around, because there's a certain joy that we want to experience on the basketball court together and kind of not deal with some of the locker room headaches and other stuff that sometimes you hear about.
By the way, I mean, I've seen a lot of practices and the circle at the end where everyone's clapping.
Yeah.
For some reason, I got a big kick out of it today.
Yeah.
Two of the kids were going around. Were they the captains?
No, they're just, they're our energy boost.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun to watch it, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
They really seemed to be joyful about it. That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
And it put a smile on your face, I could tell.
Yeah, it does.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, Division III is different. They're not tied to a scholarship here. If they chose to walk away tomorrow from this experience, nothing changes in their academic life at NYU. So, our players showing up at practice, they want to be there, and they, I think, enjoy that time together.
So, last question. So I noticed that when you were an assistant at Temple, the coach was Tanya Cardoza.
Yeah.
Who before that had been an assistant at UConn and now is back
Yeah.
at UConn.
Yeah.
Anything about the UConn experience that you've learned about that you've incorporated into your program?
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much from her, and I had carried a lot of what I learned into this head coaching role. And I think we also played against UConn. That was kind of in that transition when UConn was in the American Conference, and
Right.
so I think twofold: obviously learning from Tanya, and then also getting to prepare and scout for UConn and having to come up with a game plan and just watch them warm up. I mean, you learned a lot from watching that team warm up. Just kind of that how you do anything is how you do everything mentality, and having a standard and not trying to get too fancy, but just sticking to the absolute basics and making sure that you just absolutely home run the basics. And I think that that's really kind of what we try to do here. I mean, we really emphasize the little things like passing and talk about how the little things are actually the big things. And, people want to go after kind of the all-world things, but at the end of the day, the core fundamentals are still the core fundamentals, and that's the stuff that wins. And just approaching things the right way. And I think the last thing is just not sacrificing your program standards for any one person. And I thought Tanya did a really great job with that when I was at Temple.
Gotcha. Anything else, Coach, you'd like to share? Anything about the team this year? Anything else?
It's a fun group. I mean, we have a lot of new faces, and we're about to go on the road for the first time. And I told the team that the things you'll remember are actually not the score from this weekend. It's going to be the bus ride out to Boston that we get to do right now. So I'm just really looking forward to the journey with this team and seeing what noise we can make.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.